All right, this video goes out to Michelle Bannon. And the question is, can you save Tableau Prep files in structure so that if you refresh the data and want to run all the steps, it will do it? Or will you get the exclamation marks that indicate something's not the same? So from my understanding, it's really about you have a data set, right, with fields and names, and you have a Tableau Prep or Tableau desktop file. What happens when you add fields and remove fields or change fields? So we'll do a few of those simple examples. Right? What I've got is the Superstore data. All right. So this is, let's say you're dealing with a client and they go, this is the first data set. And what you can expect to see is when you go, all right, give me a refresh of the data, it could be different. And there's a number of reasons for that. One is there's no standard process. So the person who put it together just doesn't remember how they did the first one. The other reason could be the first one was just a draft version and they're still developing their systems, right? Or the third one is they have no idea what they're doing. And this happens more often than you think. So having the ability to kind of adapt as you go along is very important. What I've done is I've taken that data set and put it into Tableau Prep. So I'm going to put a few calculations in so that, an error occurs. So let's keep this simple. I'm going to do, let's say, category, where's date, maybe date, and region. We'll just keep it simple. I don't want to be dealing with too many fields here. All right, here we go. And we're going to do some calculations of this. So let's say I wanted to do how many orders for each of these as a aggregate. Okay, so we're going to go category, region, and then count this. Right. So now if I come in here in the clean step, it basically gives me a summary per category and per region, and then how many orders. Okay, pretty simple. All right, let's now go into the Excel file. Let's modify this a little bit. So I'm going to get rid of all that stuff that we didn't use just to see what would happen. All right, we'll get rid of all this category. Let's keep order date and let's keep region. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll keep these last ones in a separate field. All right, and then we'll save it. Give that a few seconds. The computer knows it's Saturday, so it's kind of being lazy at the moment. All right, could not be refreshed because of sharing. Yeah. So the reason that happens, and if you see it, it's because the Tableau Prep file is trying to access this same file while you're trying to save it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to cancel all that, and we're just going to close this prep file. So what I'll do is I'm just going to save it and then reopen it. All right, I've gone ahead and done that. And let's see what has happened. So we now only have three fields in our data set. Let's click on the first one. And you can see that all of them have disappeared. So why are there no errors? Well, there's no errors because all the fields that we're using, right, are still there, right? And all the ones we didn't use are, not being used. So when it disappears, it has no impact on the ladder flows, right? What happens if we change the name? Okay, so let's do that change now. So I'm going to close this again, right? And we're going to change this name. So I'm going to call it, let's call this type instead. Let's call this date. And let's call this direction. Yeah, just something random, right? And I'm also going to add some fields in here. So let's add these two. Right? And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add a field with no heading. Okay, so you can just to give you an idea of the changes that can happen. Okay, I'm going to save this. I'm going to open up this flow again. Let's see what has happened. Give this some time, sip my coffee. All right, let's see what's going on. So Tableau is now trying to find those fields, okay? Because before we said, listen, there's some fields in this folder, in this file, in this location. So when you open it up, you expect to see. So Tableau's like, okay, I'm going through the files. Listen, I can't find these fields, right? So now you end up with this kind of issue. They're called something different. You've got two new fields that have been brought in and one that's not labeled at all. all right? So you got two options. One option for this last one is to actually rename it here or to rename it in the raw file. You can rename it in the raw file, but the problem with that is if you're getting these data sets all the time and it's always missing, what happens is you always have to go into the file and modify it. So if it happens all the time, you might as well automate that part and rename it here. Okay, just a little tip. All right, we go into clean one, right? And you can see that this one looks fine, but aggregate one is trying to find these fields. Okay, so we can see it here. All right, I think they've actually fixed this part. So what we can do is it's trying to look for category, region, and order date. So I got a few options. I can do it in here, or I can just add a step. Right, pretty easy. Or I can do it most likely in here. So I can call this now category, right? We can call this order date. So I guess the tip is just look at it one by one field at a time, figure out what's missing, get rid of one error at a time. A lot of people panic. I've seen people with like 10 different errors or even just one simple error and straight away they get on the phone with me. They're like, Jed, I don't know what to do. It's like, just follow the breadcrumbs, you know, follow the clues. Okay, this one has an error. It's trying to find this field. Go one step back. Field doesn't exist. Why? And then you kind of go from there. So you can see now it's working, right? In Tableau Desktop, it works a little bit differently. All right, so we're going to leave that there, but that's basically all there is to it, adding files and removing them. All right, so let's go into Tableau, and I'm going to bring that data set in. Okay, just pause it for a second. All right, I've added that Excel data set in, so let's bring the information in. So you can see this field is still missing, so let's just give that a name. Let's just call it, I think it's called ship date. All right, and let's do a simple visualization. So I'm just going to do a cross tab to say segment, direction, and number of sales, something like that. We can do a what do you call it? What is this called? Like a heat map kind of thing, right? Entire view. Sorry, I'm just going really fast here, just so we can kind of get to the content. All right, so we've got a really simple visualization here. So in Tableau Desktop, what happens if I change the names in here? All right, let's try it. So go in here, and I'll just change it to, kind of what it was before, I guess, category, and we'll have to close Tableau Prep, so I don't need that anymore. Let's call this order date. Let's call this region, sales segment, and let's call this shipping date. So we've made a number of changes, and maybe we'll add another field in here. All right, we'll grab subcategory as well, right? And we'll save it. We'll go into here. Now you'll notice in Tableau Desktop, nothing has changed, right? Because we need to refresh this data first. So if we right click refresh, it's going to go, all right, let me look for that file again. And you can see there's some errors now, all right? So what is going on? Direction is actually region. Okay, so if we go and click view data, right, we can see that region is actually direction. So what you can do, and it's an awesome feature, you want to replace direction with region. So anytime you have it used in a visualization, you can replace it. So I can right click on direction, go replace preferences, and you look for region. That replaces the use of direction anywhere in your workbook. That means even if I have 1,000 sheets all using direction, I don't have to go into each one and replace it. I can just replace the field. Okay, so region, and it'll start working again. This is very, very useful because let's say they go, we've modified the region calculation, right, to have a new region type, and we'd like you to use this one instead of this one, right? So if I call this region modified, right, I don't have to go into every single, what do you call it, into every single sheet to actually make use of it. I can just go region. So you click the one you want to replace, right? Replace preferences with region modified. There we go. And you can see now it's using the new one, right? And that's extremely useful. It's a really quick shortcut to actually, getting things updated and refreshed, right? So those are some tips on how to deal with changing data sets, right? The trick is just don't panic. Just one thing at a time. one field at a time. You can't possibly solve 10 or 20 fields in one go. And also, sometimes it's the one issue actually causing 10 things to go wrong. So follow the breadcrumbs step by step. Don't panic. Don't take any action or do anything that you haven't logically thought through. Sometimes I see people just clicking random things hoping something will work, and that's not the right way to go. Develop a methodology of actually going, all right, is the problem here? If so, what's causing it? Why is that going like that? And you follow the crumbs. And if you follow enough crumbs, you get to the root cause, fix that. And in a lot of cases, that fixes all your issues, that one little error. So what I tell analysts and people I train, the error is never really as complex as you think it is. Very rarely is it. Usually it's a tiny simple thing. You know, a miswritten code here and there, a number where it shouldn't be, a field that you use instead of a different one, an if function that went wrong. So, just follow the breadcrumbs and don't panic. So we'll leave it at that, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.